Next week we'll finish up this series, but tonight I wanted to talk obviously a little bit about a greater kind of love. The verse for this series is this. John 14:12 says, I tell you the truth, anyone, say anyone. Anyone who believes in me will do the same works that I have done, and even greater. Everybody say greater. Greater. Say it like you mean it, greater. Greater. Even greater works, because I am going to the Father. Jesus tells us straight up, no more average.
That's right.
No more moderate. No more good enough. No more almost. But greater things in your life. Because that's what we're supposed to do. That's what He wants for us. God's not pushing you down. God's not holding you back. God's not breaking your arm to teach you a lesson. God has done nothing but set us up so that we can have greater things in our lives.
Amen.
Now, greater love is what I want to talk about tonight, because the Bible talks about love a ton. It's one of the top 5 subjects of the Bible is love. In fact, the Bible flat out says that love is more important than any other thing. That's pretty important, right? 1 Corinthians 13:2 says this. If I had the gift of prophecy, so if I could tell the future, if I had the gift of prophecy or could gather all mysteries and had all knowledge, if I could have all the faith that could move mountains, but I don't have love, I am, what does it say? I am nothing. That's a pretty big statement. That's saying that if I could tell the future, but I don't have love, I'm nothing. If I was the smartest person on the face of this earth, but I don't have love, I'm nothing. If I could literally speak to a mountain and make it move, how many of y'all think that'd be pretty cool? I think it'd be awesome. There's some people that are living in some houses that I would drop the mountain right on, just saying. That would be awesome, but it says that even if you could do something that outrageous, that crazy, without love, your life is nothing. It's meaningless. And that's a big statement, because I think that nothing is the opposite of greater. Do you agree with that? I mean, nothing is what? Nothing. What's 0 times 0?
0.
Which is nothing. But greater is the opposite of nothing. You can have something greater, or you can have nothing. And thinking that it sounds like love is our go-to answer when we want something greater in our life, that it kind of starts with love. Getting rid of this idea of I need more, but I want something greater, and thinking about how we should go about this. I think love is really kind of a go-to answer. And I know a lot of you are thinking right now, well, yeah, PJ, we know about love. We're kind of Christians. Hashtag Jesus. He's my buddy. Hashtag baby Jesus, you know. And we have this idea that we know about love and that we have it operating in our life just because we're here at church, or because we know about God, or because we've given our life to Him. And I think that we do know about love, but I think that there's a greater love that we haven't yet tapped into. I think that there's a greater love that yet we haven't finished, or that we haven't experienced. I think there's something a little greater for you and me when it comes to love and having something in our life that's greater than average, that's greater than just the idea of more, but something that's meaningful and something that's going to give you purpose and make you excited to wake up in the morning. See, love is our go-to answer. It said, without love, I am nothing. Well, I want to be something. And I want to be greater. So if I want to get to greater, then that means I need to have love in all my moments in life, right? So I don't know about you. Maybe you're perfect and have a halo that's made in China that you can hold over your head, or Pakistan, I don't care, whatever. And I don't. I'm not. There's moments. How many of you guys have been as frustrated with me at our 4-way stops in our city? Oh my gosh! For a city that has so many 4-way stops, you would think that the people that live in this city would know how to drive at a 4-way stop. The other day, I'm sitting at a four-way stop, and I know that I was the last one there, therefore I'm the last one that should go. I know this, and I'm waiting for the person on my right to go, and then all of a sudden everybody's stopping, nobody's going, everyone's just looking at each other like a bunch of bozos. And so I'm like, fine, I'll go. And right when I say fine, I'll go, apparently everybody else had that same thought, and all four of us start to go. And then all four of us stop. And then all four of us look at each other like, you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. You know, and we're all ready to honk and be frustrated. And I can tell you in that moment, the very last thing that's come into my mind is having God's love in me, working through me. That's the last thing I was thinking, I promise. But see, if I want something greater for my life, without love I am nothing. That means with love I am something greater. That means that you and me in every moment of life, even in traffic, when other people are being bozos, we need to have God's love going in us and through us. I promise I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about things and saying, no, I'm a pastor. No, I'm a pastor. No, I'm a pastor. That's my old life. That's not my new life. You cannot set that car on fire. I know, again, unless you just happen to be better than me, when you stub your toe or I stub my toe, the first thing I think about isn't, oh, Jesus loves me and I love people. The last thing on my mind has anything to do with God's love. I don't know about you, but when your best friend, who knows how to push all your buttons, starts pushing your buttons because they can, because they know you the best and you know how to push their buttons, and they genuinely hurt you to the bone, the last thing on our mind is usually anything to do with God's love in us and God's love through us. See, most moments outside of church don't consist of us thinking about the love from God that He has to put in us so that it can come out of us. See, but we think, so when we think about what it is that we're going through everyday life, we have a lot of moments outside of church, outside of the time we read the Bible, outside of the time that we pray, in our week, that we're not putting love in. There's things that happen to us every single day, little tiny moments that make up our entire life that we're not putting love into. And if love is not in it, then what is that moment? Nothing. That's a big statement. To say that my week might consist of 1 or 2 hours of church where I'm all about love, 1 or 2 hours of compiled time throughout the week of spending time with God. How many of you guys genuinely would love to spend time with God every day? Like, that's a goal of yours, to just spend a little bit of time with God every day. Even if we put that together, we've got maybe about 4 or 5 hours a week that we're genuinely talking or thinking about love, God's love in us and God's love through us. And the rest of the hundreds of hours a week and month are compiled of moments that don't have love in them, so they're called nothing moments. Because they amount to nothing, because they don't have God's love in it. Now, I'm not saying that we need to be religious about this and, say God bless you every 5 seconds to everybody that comes along. That's not what I'm saying. But when we go through every moment in life, we need to have a go-to thinking of God's love in us and God's love through us. Through every moment, through every situation. Because here we are, wanting and praying and hoping, Gavin, for a life that's greater. And yet we're living from one nothing moment to another nothing moment, hoping that all these nothing moments are going to add together and build something greater. If you want to have moments that are going to build to something greater, you need to have greater moments, not nothing moments. You need to have moments where you bring something greater. Let me tell you what I mean. Nothing came from me yelling at the little old lady at the four-way stop that didn't know how to drive. Okay? Nothing came from that. Nothing good came from that. It's a forgotten moment. It did nothing. Nothing came from the instant pain of me stubbing my toe and the words that come out after it. Nothing comes from that moment where someone you care about and that cares about you cuts you and hurts you to the bone, and so you cut them and hurt them to the bone back because that's our natural reaction, or to wall up and build a wall so no one can hurt us again. Nothing comes from those moments. But depending on what we do and how we think, we can take those moments that present themselves to us as nothing, and we can add God's love to it and make it something greater. And it's not just the moments that we're angry. It's not just the moments that we're irritated. It's not just the moments where we're frustrated that God's love needs to be in us and through us. It's all moments. It's the moment that we decide who we're going to sit by. At school, at lunch, at home, at church. Who we're going to sit by, who we're going to talk to. Those moments can all go within our comfort zone that we talked about last week. And I'm just going to sit by the people I know and the people that know me and the people I've talked to 1,000 times. And it could be a nothing moment because God's love is not reaching out through you at that moment. Or it could be a moment where you sit by someone that you know needs a friend, or someone that looks like they feel uncomfortable, something that you can do something for. Those moments are decided, is this going to be a nothing moment because God's love is not working through me and I'm not putting it out there? Or is it a moment that's going to be greater because I'm going to decide that I don't want another nothing moment, that I've had enough of those, but I'm going to put God's love in this situation and I'm going to do something, little, small, big, doesn't matter. I'm going to put something out there. So the moment we decide to do our chores without our parents asking us to is a moment where we decided to put God's love through obedience out there and decide to make that moment a greater moment that I promised was going to mean something between you and your parents. Or you can have another nothing moment and wait until your mom threatens your life for the 5th time and actually has a knife in her hand and she's ready to stab you again. Okay? Those are the ways that we decide what's going to happen. Is this moment going to be nothing, or is this moment going to be greater? You see, we think that we're waiting for opportunities. God, just show me. God, just show me. And He's saying, no, these are your moments where you decide to put love in there, and you decide not to put love in there. You decide to make it a nothing moment, or you decide to make it a greater moment. That's what God's saying to you. See, God's love is in us and through us in every moment if we want it to be. Not just the moments that we're here in church. See, God's love in us and through us is something that He wants. 1 Corinthians 16:14 says, let all that you do be done in love. What does He mean by that? How much? How much? That's a lot. All. Is there any exceptions in there? So all moments, all things, everything we do, we're able to add God's love to it. Let me give you an example of what I mean. What's up, man? You're cold? I love your name, man. His name is Cade. My son's name is Cade. And actually, Cade was talking to me the other day. On Sunday, I just woke up not feeling good. Has anybody else been sick this last week or something? Yeah. Something gross going around. And so I'm down in the basement just trying to keep my distance from the kids because I don't want them to get sick. And my son comes down and he's like, Daddy, are you okay? And I said, no, man, I'm not feeling too good. He's like, really? What's the matter? And I said, well, I'm just a little sick. That's just a normal moment. Normal moment, normal curious kid, nothing bad about it. If he had walked away at that moment, I wouldn't have thought anything. It doesn't make him a bad person, but it would have been a forgotten moment. Kid asked me if I'm okay. I said, no, I'm okay. He walks off and he goes and plays, but he doesn't. He stays and he looks at me and he said, Daddy, I'm going to draw you a flower and it's going to make your heart feel better. Right? Let's show that picture. You got that picture? And so he drew that for me. I'm guessing somebody drew it and he colored it in, but either way. Now, Again, that could have been just another nothing moment. Nothing worth remembering, nothing worth talking about. It could have just been another average moment that you and I would never remember or never have in our heart or our mind. But the fact is that in that moment, God's love was in him, and then God's love came through him, and he said something, and he added God's love to that situation to the point where you, me, I'm going to remember as a dad forever, and all of you, as soon as you hear about it, you're like, oh, except for a couple tough guys that are like crying inside, like, nah. Little moments like that, if you add God's love to it, become greater moments. And as a father, I'm going to remember that moment forever. I thought it was great. There's all kinds of things that we can do to have great moments. See, God's love takes nothing moments, that could have been a nothing moment, and turns it into something greater, something lasting, something that's going to leave a lasting impression on you, a lasting impression on the people that you're around. It's going to be something greater. See, we walk through life thinking all the good stuff happens to other people. All the big stuff happens to other people. What if the difference isn't something different happening to them, but something different is happening through them? It's not that they have opportunities that you don't have. It's that they're doing things and tapping into God's love in a way that you just haven't figured out to do, or you haven't decided to do, or you haven't got out of your comfort zone to do yet. If you want something greater in your life, you can't walk through it having nothing moments. And it's really easy to just get God's love in you and start letting it go through you and start making these what used to be, what happened to you this week, nothing, and turn it into what happened to you this week, oh man, you wouldn't believe it. You'll never guess what my kid did. You'll never guess what happened. And you're going to all of a sudden have something to talk about because something greater is happening in your life. Everyday moments feel like nothing because they are. You are hit every single day by a bunch of nothing moments, and they will stay that way unless you change it. See, if you want to start changing your nothing moments into greater moments and start letting God's love in you and work through you, there's a couple things we need to do. One is this: stop looking and start seeing. There's a difference between looking and seeing. See, you can look at something and never remember it. But when you see something, it's going to leave an impression on you, something that's going to last with you. It's hard sometimes for us to look past the things we want, isn't it? Sometimes it's just hard, man. It's hard to think about what everybody else wants when all I'm seeing is all the things I want. And it's something we practice, it's something we get better at. But the truth is, we see moments, we look at moments every day that could be great moments. But because we're not seeing them, we just look real quick and then ignore it. See, we see people in need every single day. And here's what we're trained to do. It cracks me up. Even I catch myself doing it sometimes. See, if I look at somebody that is in need, whether it's a big need, a small need, a friend, or just someone to talk to, or they need, a car or some food or something crazy, whatever it is, we look and we see somebody in need and then we look away real quick and then we ignore it. And that's what we're taught to do. That's what we've taught ourselves to do as a society. If we stare, if we actually look and we actually see it, it's going to leave an impression on our heart. But if we just look and ignore it real quick, we're able to forget, aren't we? At the end of the day, we don't even remember we did it. At the end of the day, we don't even remember the needy people that we saw, because we just look and look away, look and ignore. God wants us to actually see what's going on, not just look. See, but here's the truth. People don't want to see what they don't want to change. Now, you would say, well, that's not true, PJ. I don't want to see things that I'm not able to change. See, when I see the sad kids on TV that are in another country and they're hungry, there's nothing I can really do about it. So I look and I ignore it by changing the channel really quick. Because I don't want to watch the whole commercial because there's nothing I can do. Right? What a bunch of crap. That whole commercial is telling you how to help. That whole commercial is telling you this is how easy it is just for $1 a day. For $20 a month, you can feed a kid for an entire 30 days. The truth is, I don't want to see something that I don't want to change because that's my $20. Ooh.
Check.
But I don't want to draw that conclusion, so I just look real quick and then I ignore it and pretend it never happened and convince myself that I never saw it. Because if I actually sat there and learned the names of those hungry kids, I would go to sleep that night thinking about them. Because I didn't just look and ignore, but I saw something and it left an impression on my heart. We have moments like that every single day. And God is wanting us to not just look, but to see. James 2:15 says this. Suppose you see a brother or a sister. Notice it says, suppose you see a brother or a sister who has no food or clothing, and you say, goodbye and have a good day, stay warm and eat well. But then you give that person no food or any clothing. What good does that do? What good is it? God is saying He wants you to see these things and do something about it. You may not be able to change the entire world, but you can change one person in one moment. You can change one nothing moment into something good if you would stop just looking and then looking down and looking away and ignoring it, but actually see what's going on. What would happen? Does anybody in here have somebody that just like, you really don't like them? Yeah. And maybe it's for good reason. That's okay. I could raise my hand up to here on that one. There's several people I don't like. But none of them are in here. That's true. I can't lie about that. Now, what if you were able to see past the things that they were doing and stop looking at the surface of what they're doing and see into the heart of who they are? What if you saw into the life and the day that a person had before they write something bad about you on Facebook? What if you saw the argument between them and their family before they lied about you or hurt you or said something mean or nasty about you? What if you saw the abuse that was happening? What if you saw them in their closet cutting because they feel so much hurt and pain that they don't know what else to do with it other than just cut themselves? What if you could see past all the surface stuff of why you don't like them and see past all of that into who they are and the hurt that they're going through? Because I promise you, if there's a person out there that you don't like, it's probably because they've done something mean to you or something that you didn't like, and I get that. But it also almost guarantees that they're hurt, because hurt people will hurt people. And there's somebody out there that you're just looking at the surface of what they did instead of seeing who they are, instead of seeing the opportunity to take a nothing moment and turn it into something greater.
Good.
And that's what God's love does. If you see instead of glance and look away, you're going to find those greater moments. What if it's not even the person that you dislike? What if it's somebody that you haven't even noticed? Because all you do is look and glance and ignore and walk past until you see what you want, until you see who you like, until you see what you click with. And in doing so, you've walked by and created so many nothing moments in so many other people's lives. God is saying, open your eyes. If you see a brother or a sister, if you see somebody on this earth that's in need, don't just say a little prayer and say, I hope you're okay. I hope you work this out. Dear Jesus, please help them. Saying, do something about it.
Yeah.
But none of us will do that unless we see past what they're going through. See past what they're doing, to see what they're going through, to see the hurt in their life. Now, the second thing that we need to do, it's super spiritual. So deep, I'm not sure you're going to get it. I'm not sure you're going to understand. If you're taking notes, it's in your notes. Are you ready to write this down? Number 2 is this. Number 1 is you have to stop looking and start seeing. And number 2 is this. And I hope you guys are ready to catch this. Get off your butt. I mean it. It's that easy. It's that simple. When you see something, get up and do something. Don't think about it. Don't pray about it. Don't wait until Jesus makes you feel led. Get up and do something. Seriously, all these moments are passing us by and creating a life of nothingness because we're not getting off our little booties and doing something about it. Who said you couldn't? Who said it was hard? Who said it was difficult? Who said that it wasn't worth it? Get up and do something. I can't stand it when Chris says, I'm just praying about it. Stop praying about it and get off your butt and do something. Just saying. There's a kid, we got a picture of him here. His name is James Wilmert. James Wilmert is from Colombia originally. He was born there. And he was abandoned as a baby. And then adopted here into the United States. And after he was adopted, not long after, his adopted father was killed in a bicycle accident. It's kind of a free thing. So it's just him and his mom. And he's in 5th grade. And he's got a very visible learning disability. Not quite sure what it is, but it's obvious to the people around him that he has a learning disability. And in that, he was getting teased. He was getting made fun of. He wouldn't go to recess. He wouldn't go eat at lunch. And there's a bunch of people that noticed this. But there was only 5 kids who did something about it. I want you guys to watch this video.
All students at Franklin Elementary start every day with a pledge.
At Franklin Elementary start every day with a pledge.
Indivisible.
But the Justice for All part belongs to 5 5th-grade boys.
Why pick on someone who has special needs? Yeah.
They're talking about James Wilmert, who learns a little differently than most of the other 5th graders,
Coins. They're like using them
which, it turns out,
and taking advantage of them.
can get a guy teased.
Point. Because he's easier to pick on, and it's just not right.
Which is why Gus, Tyler, Landon, Jake, and Jack decided this year to have James's back.
It really kind of makes you proud to be their teacher.
Mallory Hauk says the school's anti-bullying lessons must have struck a chord.
Landon!
But this has gone beyond even her expectations.
Thank you.
James's mom's, too.
He used to not want to go out for recess or anything. It would be like a struggle. And now he can barely eat his lunch to get outside to play with those guys.
Play and learn.
He has a notebook with over 600 teams of college.
Gustavus Adolphus. That's how much he likes sports. Nebraska.
They learned, too, that James was adopted from an orphanage in Colombia and that 6 years later he lost his new father in a bicycle accident.
And we just got a basketball hoop last week because he now loves basketball. I mean, they're changing him.
And they're still not done.
We're like, do you have any sports games? And he was like, no, I don't have any video game systems. So that's when I came up with the idea.
With some of their own money and some from their parents, the boys recently delivered to James video games and a new PlayStation.
Every one of them was smiling like crazy.
The first time friends had ever come to play with James.
I'll never forget it. Never.
Jack, what? You tie my shoe. Yep.
Indivisible.
He's an awesome kid to hang out with.
You're too fast! MVP! Boom! Touchdown! Woo!
All of these guys are the best friends anybody could ask for.
No Franklin 5th grade friends have ever pledged allegiance like the James gang.
It's my 12th touchdown. I love you guys.
There was a lot of people that looked at him in first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade, and even in fifth grade. Lots of people like you and me. Not bad people, not mean people. Maybe you weren't the one that teased them. Maybe I wasn't the one that teased them. But there was lots of people that looked and then ignored. Looked and then ignored. And it took 5 kids who took a moment to not just look and then ignore so they can go about their own life, but to actually see what somebody else was going through. To actually see that he didn't go to recess, that he didn't sit with anybody at lunch. And to even go beyond the awkwardness that might have been there at first trying to communicate with them, because obviously there are different levels of communication. But it turned out that 5 fifth graders not only gave him a cool gift of video games, amazing gift of friendship, but they were the first ones to ever go to his house to hang out. To 5th grade. They took from 1st grade to 5th grade all the nothing moments that happened in James's life, and they put God's love in them and through them and created a greater moment. 5th graders, I don't know what excuse you and I have when 5 5th graders take the time to start putting God's love in those moments, because we think that you and I can deal with our nothing moments, and we pick and choose where we try to put God's love, and we pick and choose where we're going to put it, thinking it only affects us. Meanwhile, while you're holding the love that God has in you and that God put in you, and while we're holding it in and being really picky about who we show it to and who we share it with, we're letting other people's lives continue with moments of nothing. When God put you here to give moments that are greater, moments that are meaningful, moments that in a world full of so much bad news, that they actually notice 5 5th graders just being nice to somebody. That's how desperate our world has got. That 5 5th graders being nice to someone that everyone should be nice to, that everyone should be kind to, just doing what any decent person should do, makes national news. Because it's so rare. Because people like you and people like me have become content with our nothing moments. All the while, hoping, praying, and asking God, give us something greater. And all He's saying to you is, I put a greater love in you so that something greater can come out of you. And when you do that, your moments will not be nothing, your moments will be great, and they will change other people's lives, not just yours. It's what we're about. If your life, if you look at it and if you can say nothing happened to me this week, then that's a great indicator that you might have God's love in you, but it's not going through you. Or maybe it's not in you as much as it needs to be and you need to get something filled. I'll tell you what, nobody ever wants to forgive someone until they experience the love of God. Nobody wants to be nice to somebody else or kind to somebody else until they experience the love of God on a level that makes them understand, man, this is great. I'm telling you, there's something more, there's something greater than just these little nothing moments that we've been experiencing. Everybody stand up for me. I'm going to challenge you guys, because this is a big thing. When you deal with so many different moments in a week, this can be different. It can be a lot to think about. So I'm just going to let you think about it in this next week. And this next week, I dare you. I dare you to on purpose take your nothing moments and turn it into something greater. Simply by letting God's love through it. I dare you to make a new friend this week. Someone that's not unlike all of your other friends. I dare you to sit by somebody at lunch that isn't your normal group. Or invite somebody that doesn't have a group to sit with you. I am daring you to do something different. To not just leave this place saying, "Oh, that was good, PJ. Oh, that was awesome," but actually change and do something about it. To not just watch this video and say, "Oh man, I wish I could help somebody's life. I wish I could change somebody's life like that." You can. Right here, right now. Maybe they have a learning disability, maybe they don't. That doesn't matter. There's people without learning disabilities that are going through life right now, that are having struggles, that are hurting, that need the hope and the peace and the love that you and I take for granted every single day from God. And this world is waiting for us to share it with them, waiting for us to show it to them, waiting for us to get creative about it. I love how creative we get when it comes to promposals. What about people that are actually hurting? What about people that actually need something from you? What about the people that have your name written on their heart? Because God created you and put you in this place to do something for them. I dare you. I dare you to make a difference. I dare you to try. You know, those 5th graders, I'll bet you that they had a thought in the back of my mind, if I start hanging out with this guy, what are other people going to think? All they got were applause and national news, and they were worried. You know, I'm sure they were worried about it. Are you going to let the idea of what other people might think stop you from showing God's love? There are people out there that need it, that are wanting it so bad. It's time for us to wake up. I chose this message tonight. There's actually a 3rd step into taking all these nothing moments and making them greater, but I'm going to give that to you next week, and we're going to close out our series with it. But I wanted to do this tonight because this week marks a new year. A new school year for you and a new school year for E3. And I thought last year was great. I really did. Man, I had a great time last year, and lots of people came to church for the first time. People got saved for the first time. There's now people that are doing better in life because they have God's love in it. And it was a great year. But I want this year to be even better. I don't want to have another 2014, 2015. I want a new 2015, 2016. I want it to be new. I want it to be different. I want your school year to be different from anything you've ever experienced. I don't want you going down to school thinking the way that you used to think, acting the way you used to act, talking the way you used to talk. This is your chance to do something new, to do something different, to get out of your own box, to get out of your own comfort zone, and not just want a greater life, but have a greater life. Not just want to do something greater, but actually do something greater. To not just have God's love in you, but have God's love going through you to where people know about it and people see it and it makes a difference.